Thor Ragnarok was directed by Taika Waititi, and this time Thor is back, but he has been imprisoned and is forced to fight the Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo, while Hela, played by Cate Blanchett, is threatening Asgard. This movie is everything that I want in a movie ever. This is by far the greatest Marvel movie that has come out, by far, in the whole Marvel Universe. It's probably the best superhero movie that came out ever. It's definitely been the best one to come out this year, so that says something right there. This movie starts off very strong, and it just gets your attention right away. It jumps you right into everything going on, and it's amazing. I can't begin to explain how amazing this movie is. I did some looking up, and this movie, 80% of this movie was improvised. So that says a lot about this movie. Normally when it comes to improvising, a lot of actors do a phenomenal job. And this movie, the fact that 80% of it was nothing but improv, is perfect. Every percentage of that improv was noticeable, and it just fit perfectly in this movie. It was hilarious. It was a fun movie. I can't even begin to explain this movie. I am blown away by this movie and the way that it is. Chris Hemsworth did an amazing job as Thor this time. The last couple Thor movies that he did, he was kind of weak as in his role. Thor in those movies was a lot more dumb, you could say. He was more kind of trying to understand everything. He was trying to be this person that, to me, it just doesn't seem like Thor. But in this movie, he's more human. He's more person. He's less God in this movie. He's more of a person. He played the part. Chris Hemsworth played Thor in this movie exactly the way that I wanted Thor to be played in the last two movies. Tom Hiddleston, once again, as Loki, did phenomenal, spot on, perfect. I can't begin to describe. Let's talk about Cate Blanchett's Hela, the Goddess of Death. Her role in this movie was perfect. She played the Goddess of Death perfectly. Not one of her scenes went to waste at all. Every scene that she was in fit perfectly in the movie, and the way she portrayed the Goddess of Death, the way she portrayed Hela was beautiful. It was dark, it was devious, it just was phenomenal. I loved it. I loved every actor in this movie. I loved every actress. I loved everything in this movie. The score in this movie and everything was amazing. They played the Immigrant song that they played in the trailers in the movie twice, actually, and it just fit perfectly in. Everything was correct with this movie. All the fight scenes, all the comedy, all the acting, the script itself, everything was beautiful in this movie. I can't think of one flaw. Let me rephrase that. There is a very, very minor flaw that is so small that it just doesn't even bother with this movie, and that's Hela talking about her backstory. It's small, it's short, and it's mainly there for the audience, but it's needed because a lot of people don't really know exactly who Hela is. So the fact that she just went into this brief thing about her backstory was fine. It compared to the rest of the movie, her doing that was completely fine. I had no problem with it whatsoever. To be honest, I didn't really know much about her either, so being able to hear that, I was A-okay with hearing that. Now, Jeff Goldblum was in this movie, and he played the Grandmaster. And Jeff Goldblum in this movie was Jeff Goldblum. I had no problem with him. He didn't steal the show. No character in this movie stole the show. Everybody played their part perfectly. There was no single character that took over. Everybody played their part perfectly, especially Jeff Goldblum. His role of the Grandmaster was the greatest. And Jeff Goldblum was just Jeff Goldblum. He didn't have any specific part. He was just himself, dressed in these fancy robes, with his makeup on and all that. And it was perfect. It was fine. There was no problem with the way Jeff Goldblum was in this movie because he was being himself. And that is completely fine. Every scene in this movie fit so perfectly with the previous scene as well as the next scene. There was no small scene in this movie. Every scene, no matter how small screen time it was, fit with this movie perfectly. There was nothing that I could think of that was wrong with this movie. I really cannot think of anything. There was no one person that stole the movie at all. All the fight scenes were completely epic and badass. It was wonderful. Everything was perfect. The acting was perfect. The writing was perfect. The directing by Taika Waititi, who actually played a role in this movie. I won't say who, but it was perfect. Everything was perfect. Now, a lot of people admittedly might have a problem with this movie. One small problem with this movie, and that's because it's more focused on Planet Hulk. And let's be honest, we're not going to get a Planet Hulk movie. I'm sorry, you guys, but it's not going to happen. So they combined the Thor movie of Ragnarok with Planet Hulk, and that's going to be the one, I guess, big thing that people are going to find wrong with this movie. But you know what? Forget that. Get that out of your mind, get that out of your head, and all that. It doesn't matter. It was still perfect. Mark Ruffalo's Hulk was freaking hilarious. He was awesome. I loved it. Thor in this movie was awesome. Everybody in this movie was awesome. This movie, I would definitely go see this movie again. I loved it. I love this movie. It was the greatest. It was the best movie of this year, hands down. I know I just got out of it. I know it might be, very quick calling it the best movie, but I'm saying it's the best movie ever. I'm giving Thor Ragnarok an A+. This is the second A+ that I've given this year, so you can tell that this was an amazing movie. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. I truly appreciate it. I did just create a new website. It's got a blog on there. It's got all my latest work that I've been doing, starting with Jigsaw from last week, and it's only going to expand from there. I'm going to put a link right down here for you guys in the description box, as well as right here for you guys to look at. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and obviously on here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, this is Pop Culture Critics signing off.